Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and a catastrophic mistake by Hunter Biden's defense team could land him behind bars. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. Hunter Biden was found guilty. He's a convicted felon, ladies and gentlemen. Found guilty of 3 charges related to his firearms possession and lying on the form to fill out the application for the firearms when he said he was not addicted to drugs at the time. He's a convicted felon, just like they like to say about former President Trump. Now, should he have been convicted? As you guys know, I have feelings about that. I think it's a ridiculous law. But Hunter, he's got bigger issues. See, legal experts, not just me, but legal experts are saying they should have made the deal. What happened was, after their deal got scuttled, the first deal, the sweetheart deal, where he got everything he wanted, they had to sit down, prosecutors and defense attorneys, and make a new deal, one that would be acceptable to the judge. Well, when Hunter wasn't getting enough immunity from other charges in the deal, they walked away from the deal. They could have had a deal. This could have been minor league stuff. Could have been wiped away. They chose instead to go to trial when the evidence against them was overwhelming. But I believe that the reason they did that is because they said, hey, we're in Delaware. We're the Bidens in Delaware. Nobody's convicting the Bidens in Delaware. Well, they did get convicted in Delaware. Well, at least he got convicted in Delaware because the jury did its job. If you listen to the jurors afterwards, they looked at the evidence. Catastrophic mistake. And these legal experts I'm about to show you are going to explain why it might end up with Hunter behind bars. Let's take a look and leave your comments after you watch this.
It's always fascinating when you watch a trial from gavel to gavel, as I did, to hear from these jurors. Not just this juror, but other jurors have spoken out about this case. And the consensus seems to have been that they didn't think that what Hunter Biden did was all that serious. And in fact, when they took their first vote, it was 6-6. Not because 6 people thought he was innocent, but because there was a lot of concern about why this case was being brought and was there any actual harm done. After all, this gun was never fired. And one juror said, in fact, that she thought this case was a waste of taxpayer money. But at the end of the day, when they went through the evidence, they really had no choice but to convict him. And that sort of raises a question in my mind that I've been asking myself throughout the trial as I heard the prosecution present this overwhelming evidence, obviously, that Hunter Biden was using drugs when he bought the gun, which is why they couldn't have found a way to get a plea deal in this case. And, you know, there's a sort of a mythology that the judge, we all saw the judge raise questions about the plea deal in the courthouse a year ago, and the deal fell apart that day. But there's a part 2 to that story, which is the 2 parties sat down and tried to continue negotiating. And at the end of the day, the Hunter Biden team was not satisfied with the level of immunity that the prosecution was willing to offer. And so they took their chances at trial. And in retrospect, that seems to be a catastrophic decision because Hunter Biden is now guilty of felonies. And the guidelines in this case call for prison time. Now, the judge doesn't have to sentence him to prison. The judge has a lot of latitude here. But federal sentencing guidelines, according to our legal expert, Danny Savalos, call for about 15 to 21 months in prison. And people have gone to prison for violating this crime who have been in a lot sort of less advantageous social and financial position than Hunter Biden. And the judge is going to have to confront that when she sentences him a few months from now.
You know, Ken, I want to underline that fact that they had a plea deal that they could have taken, but because they wouldn't grant him total immunity, even over the tax charges, any other charges, they rejected it. So instead of taking an imperfect plea deal, they risked it all, which again, in retrospect, seems like really bad lawyering.
Yeah, and, you know, we don't know everything that went into their decision-making. They were going to the plea deal encompassed the tax case, which is actually really significant because that's a more serious case than with greater breadth of evidence, which is going to happen in September unless they plead it out, than this case. But what the plea deal, what they weren't willing to offer the Biden team was immunity from other conduct that they were investigating, including potential foreign lobbying violations. Well, guess what? It's been a year. We've seen no sign of a federal investigation leading to an indictment on those charges. That may may never happen. That was a sort of a theoretical risk that they weren't willing to take. But what they have is an actual felony conviction here in this case, and then another trial on very serious tax charges looming in California in September, guys.